So, Aamir Khan's son, Junaid Khan's new movie Maharaj is out on Netflix, also starring Jaideep Ahlawat. What's weird over here is that no one really knew when this movie actually came onto Netflix. There was no marketing around it, which is also very weird given that a Star Kid is being launched and all of that. So, I was curious to see what it was all about. So, let's go ahead and find out. So the story is about this Maharaj in Gujarat, this priest in a mandir which they refer to as the Haveli, and the priest is colloquially called JJ. And the whole story is about how JJ sexually exploits women in the name of God, in the name of religion. Now they show that a new and aspiring journalist, who is Junaid Khan, basically takes up a case against JJ, against the Haveli for what's happening over there, and the whole movie basically is about this. So, to be honest, there's not a lot that's good in this movie, barring maybe just the cinematography and Jaideep Ahlawat as an actor. Almost everything else is pretty bad. So, starting off with the makeup, they've shown the era to be the 1800s, and the women here have like a lot of makeup that's been put on, to the extent that the nails are also carefully manicured, which is just absurd considering it's a setup in a village in Gujarat. Next, I want to talk about the VFX. The VFX for the most part is okay, but there are a couple of sequences where it just looks way too fake and way too green screen like. Next, I think the biggest problem of this movie is the story, screenplay and dialogue. It is extremely slow. This movie is a maha pakao movie, and you honestly just cannot wait for it to end. And also what doesn't work is that the actors and the director are so fixated on the dialogues that oftentimes it just feels like the actors are mouthing the dialogues and not actually feeling what the characters are feeling. To add to this, the songs are below average, and the production design as well looks very set-like, and it's decent in the interiors, but then a lot of it ends up happening in the interiors. A good chunk of the movie ends up happening in the interiors, and you'll miss that scale. And when you see the scale, it looks fake. So that's a big problem with the movie as well. The only good actor in this movie is Jaideep Ahlawat, and Junaid Khan in this movie is a bit of a misfit. Now, speaking of Junaid Khan, I was really a little perplexed with his performance, to be honest. I don't think he's a bad actor per se, but I just don't think he fit well in this role. He seemed extremely out of place in this role, also very awkward at times. A lot of the times, while his dialogue delivery and diction sounds on point, it just feels too made up, and it just feels like he's remembered all these lines and is mouthing these lines one after the other. It doesn't feel like he actually is feeling what the character is feeling. Now, speaking of Sharvari, who's also there in this movie, she's given the credit of a special appearance or a guest appearance, but she's there for a good chunk of the second half of the movie. While her Gujarati is more or less in the zone for most scenes, a lot of the scenes she just comes across as very annoying, especially in the scenes where they try to make her seem funny. It is incredibly annoying. In fact, the humor in this movie is absolutely horrible. Not a single joke made me laugh. In fact, it just was extremely annoying and painful to sit through all of it. Also, going back to the screenplay over here, what doesn't work is that they don't do a good job of showing the actual process or the struggle of how a common man or a lawyer can take down a temple or a deity-like figure. Like, they show that Junaid Khan basically starts this whole movement, and initially they show there's some resistance, and within like 10 minutes they just show that everyone is more or less coming on to his side, and people one after the other just end up speaking up against the temple and against the practices and all of that. And it just feels like, where were all these people all this while, and why were they opposing him in the first place to begin with? And it just, the way they show his entire rise to power against the temple just seems a little unrealistic and not well portrayed. Also, random side note, most of the British actors in this movie are pretty horrible actors, and also the main actress in the movie in the first half sounds a lot like Alia Bhatt. So well, here's the verdict for it. In a nutshell, this movie is actually a pretty pathetic movie. It's an absolute bore. Do not watch it. There's way better content out there on Netflix. You're not missing out on anything, and I guarantee you, if you watch this movie, you will be incredibly bored and would just be an absolute waste of your time. So well, on the BMB meter, I'm going ahead and giving this movie 4 out of 10. Do let me know what you thought about this in the comments, and also please go ahead and like and share the video if you thought it was interesting. And well, go ahead and subscribe to my channel for more cool content and honest reviews. Thanks, and I'll see you soon.